Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. This is Renee from Meadowlark Mystic, and I'm going to be doing my October reflections and wrap up. I wanted to go over some of the decks that I used in the month, and I'm trying a new setup with a new camera, so I apologize if it's not in focus sometimes. So one of the decks that really spoke to me in October was the Mystical Tarot. I'm going to try to zoom in a little bit. And this deck is a wonderful reader for me. It's really a strange deck with some of the creatures that are featured, especially in the Cups suit. But like the creatures on his neck and on his head. But I find that it creates kind of a familiar but otherworldly environment for the reading to take place, like with this weird cat table and, you know, what looks like an alchemical setup behind the magician. I really like how this deck gets my brain thinking and my intuition, and I also love how things are going on in the clouds. There's a lot of movement in this deck, which I really appreciate. Like the shield of the Page of Cups is a giant fish. So this is a beautiful deck, and I really enjoy working with it. It's definitely proven itself. When you first get this deck, I will say it can be a little standoffish, and I realize that I'm personalizing an inanimate object. But this deck, I have found, does have a personality, and it can be a little bit abrasive at first. But if you give it a chance and you keep working with it, it becomes like a fast friend. I would say it reminds me a lot of the energy of cats. Cats sometimes make you work for their affection, and this deck is like that. It makes you work for it. So that is the Mystical Tarot. I use this deck a lot to answer questions, and it can be somewhat predictive, which I really appreciate. Another deck that I've used quite a bit in October was the Star Tarot. This deck is absolutely gorgeous. It gives wonderful, soft, powerful readings. It's a unique combination to have a deck that's both soft and powerful. But this deck is that deck. I was a little put off, although I'm attracted to the imagery. I was a little put off by, I guess, how kind of storybook it is in some ways. But over time and with consistent reading with it, I absolutely love this deck. It is a wonderful reader. It, like I said, delivers a message. Oops, this one's upside down. Delivers a message that is both powerful and gentle, and I absolutely love it. I trimmed it. It's shiffer cardstock, which can be sticky and tacky, but as you work with it, it does start to give up a little bit of that stickiness. The other deck that I worked with and have been working with, and I love to work with it with the Star Tarot, is the Raven's Prophecy. They look absolutely fantastic together. This deck is trimmed. The Raven's Prophecy is a more contemporary, original interpretation of Rider-Waite-Smith. But if you know the Rider-Waite-Smith, it's easy to read with this deck. I trimmed it, but I chose to leave the titles at the bottom because I didn't dislike the orange so much that I wanted it totally gone, and I do like that it's still there, because this deck, although it's Rider-Waite-Smith, it can be a tiny bit tricky with the court cards to read. So that's one of the reasons I left the titles, and that's Raven's Prophecy. Another deck, or a combo of decks that I've been using and getting to know, is the Goddess Tarot and the Sacred World Oracle. They're both by Chris Walder, and she has some absolutely beautiful art. However, I find her art style with decks a little bit inconsistent, which is trickier to read with. These two decks work really well together, but I will say that the Sacred World Oracle, and that's this one, has kind of an overlay of mystery to it that I'm having a little bit of a tricky time understanding. So this is a good example of her art style that I don't care for quite as much. It's soft, almost indistinct. This particular face that she drew, I guess for a child, for the firefly, it just doesn't work for me. So I've actually removed this card from the deck. This, I love rabbits, but this particular rabbit, I don't know, it's just not, it's not clear and distinct. And yet I know that she can do clear and distinct, and I know that she can do absolutely amazing, amazing artwork. And I would say that that is one of the things that kind of trips me up, the inconsistency in the art. So this is also her art style, and it reminds me of another deck. But, you know, it's like an Egyptian painting or glyph, which really doesn't go with the hyper realism of this card, which I adore. So the Sacred World, it just has some inconsistencies in the art style that I'm struggling with. And I will say the Goddess Tarot also has some kind of inconsistencies, and I've talked about this before. When you look at the major arcana and the minors are kind of soft and wispy, and the major arcana is, you know, is realistic, but just blow your socks off beautiful. So I'm trying to figure out how to make that work for me. That's the Goddess Tarot and the Sacred World Oracle. I also got this deck and trimmed it. And this is the Old English Tarot. I trimmed the backs and it took off the bottom of the carpet, which for some people would be, you know, super annoying, but for me it's fine. This deck had, I should probably come in now. Oops, wrong way. This deck had white borders, and I didn't think they were helping. Oops. I didn't think they were helping the deck at all. It's a cute deck, but it's easily overwhelmed by other decks. And I thought that the white borders were one of the reasons that it was getting overwhelmed. It is not a Rider-Waite-Smith clone, and neither is it a Marseille. It kind of goes its own way. It has images at the bottom that, you know, can depict what's going on in the cards, but it's soft enough and open enough that you can kind of go your own way. I've always wanted this, and I got it as a gift, so thank you to that person who gave it to me as a gift. That is the Old English Tarot. Another deck I wanted to talk about, which is a tricky deck to talk about, but I'm going to give it a shot, is the Moon Oracle. And that's this deck, the Moon Oracle. This, I'm going to pull out. This deck has 3 different types of cards. The Moon Mansions, which are the astrological degrees, and those change every 2.5 to 3 days. Then it has the moon phases. I don't know, maybe I put the goddesses. So the moon phases, and what trips people up, I think, in the moon phases is that the moon phases are not the astrological sign, they're the element. So the zodiac is broken up into elements. I don't know what I did with the actual goddess cards themselves. So, you'd look at your calendar and you'd find the phase of the moon. So for this one, it would be a full moon. And if it was in Pisces or Scorpio, what's the other, or Cancer, then it would be in the water element, and the others are in their own element. You could easily find that in the book. So that's how you use this card. It's the phase of the moon and the element that it's in. That's not going to say, you know, Cancer or Scorpio. And then the moon mansions are the degrees in which that that day what sign it's in. And for that, you would need a calendar that would show you, like this, would show you the degrees. So on Tuesday, the 16th of June, you can see from the glyph here that it's moving from Aries into Taurus. So I would look, if it fell on that day, I would look for the Aries into Taurus. Oh, here they are. So these are the goddess cards. I got them mixed up because I've tried to make this video many times. And I've gotten tripped up several times trying to, you know what? Oh, here it is. So this would be the card for Aries into Taurus, because you can see Aries moving into Taurus. So that would be the Moon Mansions card. And then of course this would be whatever the moon phase was. And then these are the goddess emanation cards, or the goddess cards. There's only 12 of them. They are broken up into the black moon goddesses, the white moon goddesses, and the red moon goddesses. The goddesses are very predictive in their interpretation, which I don't resonate with goddess energy for that. So I actually gave them different keywords, and I used this book to do that with. She has 10 different goddess emanations, and I assigned those to the cards, but there's 12 cards. So 2 of them are doubled up. And that's how I use the Oracle deck, the Moon Oracle. It's a very powerful deck, and it's really fun to use once you get a handle on it. The book itself, I think that you would need more an astrological calendar in order to use the Moon Oracle effectively. So that's the Moon Oracle. I've been enjoying it and using it quite a bit. So there's that. I think I mentioned on Instagram, or showed a picture that I did my first 1,000-piece puzzle. And this is that puzzle. This is the picture of that puzzle. And it was really fun. It was a way to engage my monkey mind, kind of relax it and do something that I considered productive. So I think I'll definitely be doing puzzles in the future. This was a little tricky because, as you can see, some of the pieces are very similar in color, just different tonal shades of beige, but I figured it out. So that is something that I have been enjoying. I also worked on reworking this deck, which is the Sacred Geometry Activations deck. I had trimmed this deck to release it from the keywords that came with it, which is more kind of a, I guess, starseed kind of vibe. And it needed keywords of some kind. So I went and found some of my favorite keywords, and I attached them with a tiny piece of paper and tape. I think this is going to work, actually. I think this is going to work for me, but I do need to figure out how to get the keywords on this deck. So if anybody knows of a white permanent pen, if you could leave it in the comments, that would be great. Because I really like the keywords that I have chosen for this deck. This has cardstock very similar to the Star Tarot. It's a little thinner, sticky though, which is kind of a bummer. But I'm gonna show this deck. I have not worked with this deck, and I've had it for several weeks now. And this is the Majestic Earth. It was a Kickstarter. I hardly ever do Kickstarters. I did this deck, and I did another deck. I guess I don't need to go into it. What I'm finding is this deck is so beautiful that I'm hesitant to use it. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. It is absolutely gorgeous. The cardstock is beautiful. You can't, rifle shuffle it, but it's still really lovely. I actually met the designer and the writer of this deck, the creator. And that was a really interesting experience too. But it's kind of like, it's so precious that I'm having trouble breaking through to the other side to use it, which is a shame. I don't know exactly how I'm going to get over that. But there you go. The last thing I wanted to share with you, I purchased this deck, the Augenblick Oracle, and I would say that it was definitely a fear of missing out. She had her Oracle deck and her tarot had gone out of print, and then some people contacted her and said, hey, would you consider doing a small print run? And she did, and it was very limited. I had looked at her tarot, but I didn't resonate with some of the choices that she made. But this Oracle, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. I did not know it was going to be this teeny tiny. However, I'm actually kind of liking that. It is make playing cardstock, I believe. These are the backs, which I like. So this is a deck by Shannon Loftus, and she, let's see, it says created, compiled, curated, and the guidebook written by Shannon. So she takes old photos. I don't believe they're collaged, but I do believe that she adds color and different tonality to it. I like old pictures quite a bit. Maybe I should zoom in a little bit. I like old pictures quite a bit. However, I am a little strange when it comes to people's faces, because I mean, this is a beautiful card of partnership. Really love it. But what bothers me a little bit is these were real people with real lives and real families, and now they're in some person's Oracle deck. It's the same type of thing that weirds me out when I go to Goodwill and see photographs, family photographs from people, you know, I guess nobody wanted that photograph. I don't know. The energetic signature of the person, it just kind of weirds me out. But this Oracle deck has really interesting keywords. So this one, even though my big thumb is in the way, it says the lines between us, the post, the gamble, the high road and the low road, the way out. I enjoy her keywords, and I really enjoy her writing. She separates the deck into the places we visit, the people we meet, the people we are, the ideas that shape us, the world outside us, and the world within us. So within these headers, it's alphabetized, but the deck itself is not alphabetized. So it makes it a little bit tricky to find which card is where. But once you do, I really do like her writing. I think that it's original and thought-provoking. And the book is nice that goes with this, this little deck. I don't know if it's available still. I just got it yesterday in the mail, so it was on pre-order. I think she said that she might have some more left over after she finishes all these pre-orders. So if you're interested, it might be worth checking out. So that's pretty much my October in terms of decks I've been using and books I've been reading. I'm going to be starting a new adventure. I'm going to be reading tarot professionally. So I'm excited about doing that. I'm also a little bit scared, but more excited because I just really love the doors that tarot opens for people to access different parts of their journey, different parts of their mind and their heart. Before I came to tarot, I was a coach for personal development, and it started out actually as health coaching. So I did a lot of study, and I know a lot about the health world, but I just really wanted to go into the more spiritual aspects of coaching, and tarot is the perfect vehicle to do that. So I just wanted to share that with you, my friends who love tarot as much as I do. I hope you're doing well this season. I hope that as the sun moves across the sky, that you're able to find joy and peace. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.